Stephen Dowdry's film adaptation of Virginia Woolf's seminal novel Mrs. Dalloway, In the Hours, presents a thematic interplay that not only complements but also enhances the original work's exploration of the complexity of the human experience. Through an intricate dialogue between the two texts, Dowdry's cinematic reimagining amplifies the themes of time, existentialism, choice, agency, and control, and the profound nature of mental illness. Furthermore, the experimental relationship between Mrs. Dalloway and the Hours illustrates how Dowdry's adaptation enriches our understanding of these fundamental concepts of the human condition. By examining the parallels within the narratives, we can discover the mirroring of the rich conversations between the two texts and how the modern film adaptation of the novel enhances the understanding, appreciation of the issue, as well as values, assumptions, and perspectives presented in the original text. The common human experience of the suffocation of time is explored in the conversations between Dowdry and Woolf's texts, as they detach themselves from the present and look towards the future, examining the hours that they have not experienced, as well as reflecting on the hours that they have experienced and aren't happy with experiencing. In Dowdry's text, Richard looks forward, contemplating the worth of continuing to live past the current moment and how time will not just stop for him to enjoy the current moments, leaving him in a state of existentialism where he concludes that his current moments are not worth living for, as he is no longer happy with his mortality and place in the present and the potential future. This is illustrated through the washed-out colour palette and dark tones used whenever Richard is in the frame. The metafictional character mirroring aligns with Woolf's text, where Septimus lives in the past, stuck in moments too traumatic for his brain to move beyond. And from his lips fell like shells, like shavings from a plane, an immortal ode to time. The perceptions of time are vastly different, as Septimus is unable to accept the fact that there is a future past current moments that he is living in. The points of parallel between the two characters come from their shared state of existentialism. Although caused by different things, the concept of time is the root of both of their crises. This furthers the conversation about the anxieties of time between the texts and enhances the understanding of the fundamental concepts of the narratives. Moreover, Dowdry and Woolf both explore the concept of capturing the moment exactly where it stands, whilst also reaching forward and holding for the possibilities and excitement of the future in the character's hands. Woolf examines the physical reflections of Mrs. Dalloway's character to keep herself in the moment. Her vision consists only of herself in that current moment. However, she does see flashes of the person she is to be later that night, seeing the delicate pink face of a woman who was, that very night, to give a party, in either anticipation or excitement. Dowdry uses reflections of nature and pathetic fallacy to explore Carissa's current moment. As the dawn rises, she reflects on a sense of possibility. The two texts talk to each other through an excitement of what is to come, not quite being able to understand that the characters need to appreciate the moment that they are in, and further explore the conversation about the human predicament as a fundamental concept in both the texts. Dowdry and Woolf discuss the ethical complications of the personal agency of those suffering from mental illness. Woolf explores this concept through Septimus' suicide, whereby he chooses to end his own life rather than have it metaphorically taken from him, where he is about to be placed in a psychotic treatment ward. "I'll give you my soul. I'll give it to you." Woolf furthers this discussion by illustrating the separation from Septimus to obtain his freedom, as he would rather die than lose control over his own life. So he was in their power. Holmes and Bradshaw were on him. Woolf's writing challenges the conceptual representation of autonomy and agency as she rails against the control exerted over those who are deemed lacking control. This concept is reflected in Dowdry's character, Laura, as she contemplates taking her own life due to being trapped in a loveless marriage where she is miserable to the point where she, instead of committing suicide, runs away from the only life she has ever known. When confronted later in the film about her choices to leave her family, she paradoxically explains, "It was death. I chose life." The conversation about personal agency between the two texts can be seen through the characters Laura and Septimus, whereby Septimus literally gives up his life and Laura gave up her traditional society-awarded life. Both characters made sacrifices in order to obtain freedom. This discussion is deepened through the enhancing and challenging of the ideas and values presented in both texts. Furthermore, in Dowdry's movie adaptation, the beginning of the film contains Virginia Woolf's actual suicide note. She explains that she is mad and cannot continue to live the way that she does, describing her mental illness as a terrible disease. She writes to her husband, Leonard, thanking him for his support in her illness. "You have been, in every way, all that anyone would be. I owe all the happiness of my life to you. You have been entirely patient and incredibly good. Everything has gone from me but the certainty of your goodness." In Virginia's novel, the mentally ill Septimus, stricken with PTSD, reflects this appreciation similarly with his wife, Razia. He explains how she acts like a protector of him when he is in these lucid states. Like petals were all around her, she was a flowering tree, a sanctuary. The conversation is further continued through the mirroring of Septimus's delusions that align with how Virginia describes her own. How the dead sing, Ode to Time. Conversations with Shakespeare, Evans, Evans, Evans. His message from the dead. Virginia's suicide note depicts that she feels certain she is going mad again. Dowdry highlights the similarities of the hallucination between the characters by allowing Virginia's actor to take shaky breaths between the following words. "I begin to hear voices. I can't concentrate." The conversation about mental illness between the two texts brings insight into the heartbreaking toll it has on an ill person's inner circle. Both Razia and Leonard are left to support their partners with everything they can, left in fear that it might be a hopeless battle. And yet, they both fight it for their lovers anyway. This conversation challenges modern perceptions of mental illness and enhances the focus of the choice and agency of those who suffer from mental illnesses. Through examining the conversation between the two texts, it is obvious how Dowdry's adaptation of Virginia's novel enhances the ideas and values presented in the original text. Dowdry provides opportunities for contextual understanding of the novel to be understood in a deeper format, allowing Woolf's story to be accessible to a larger audience. By providing contextual input about the author's life, we, the audience, can grasp a better understanding of the original Mrs. Dalloway's character and how she perceived the world around her, as well as providing an insight into the real-world impacts of Woolf's novel. Dowdry's conversations with Woolf's concepts is a familiar one, as he complements her exploration of the nature of mental illness and highlights the fundamental concepts that make up a human life.